want to make a video on Conqueror, and this is something I really didn't want to do because the forums are very underrepresentative of top lane and bruiser players and very overrepresentative of AD carry players, especially right now. So anything not loving AD carries and pity partying them is going to get hated on a lot, and anything that possibly supports bruisers, who are apparently taking over bot lane despite that literally just not even being true. There's not a single bruiser being played bot lane. Really, in solo queue, that's gone, and in competitive, it never happened, really. I mean, there was like 1 week where people tried it, and then it was done. And so I don't know where the hate's going from with that one. But, so here's a video I wanted to make about Conqueror. Your minute-long intro. So I want to start with Conqueror isn't overpowered. Now, the most basic thing to go along with this is no stats show Conqueror is overpowered. Several champions have higher win rates without Conqueror, even bruiser champions. Fiora does, Olaf does, Gangplank does, Aatrox does. Fiora with Graspy Undying, Olaf with Arcane Comet, Gangplank with Graspy Undying, and Aatrox with Arcane Comet and Graspy Undying. So to say that Conqueror is the end be all, that everyone must take it because it's so strong, and in addition to that, that if you don't use Conqueror, you're not viable because you'll be trashed by people with Conqueror, it's just simply not true. I mean, Aatrox is unarguably the best top laner in the game right now, at least for the laning phase, and he doesn't use Conqueror. I mean, even when you look at champions like Gangplank, massive lane bully, no Graspy Undying, or say no Conqueror, Graspy Undying. Olaf, massive lane bully, his best win rate, Arcane Comet. Fiora, massive lane bully, Graspy Undying. Conqueror is actually not a laning phase keystone, and is best used mid to late game, which for many champions can become very difficult to use mid to late game. I mean, a lot of people look at Kled down here. This champion had a 55% win rate when he only did 2% play rate. A bunch of people started to play him, and all of a sudden his win rate started to go down to 52% from 55%. My opinion, that comes down almost entirely to people not really knowing how to use Conqueror and his W. It's very difficult and tricky and fucky to get to work. In a competitive setting, the highest pick ban Conqueror champion in the LCK is at number 12, and the second highest is at number 18. It's number 12 Aurelia, who got massively nerfed, and her pick ban is likely going to drop here. And then at number 18 is Darius. Below that is Yasuo. I think Yasuo still uses Conqueror. So there is a very large gap where Conqueror is simply not being picked. So you're telling me that Conqueror, despite being the most broken keystone in the game, the only one that needs to be nerfed, not Graspy Undying, not Arcane Comet, Conqueror only, Conqueror alone needs to be nerfed, that all these champions not using Conqueror are totally okay, but these few champions, I mean, and the thing is, look at it. Do you really see a consistent pattern where Conqueror is being picked and dominating the game? It makes up 4. It makes up 4 of these champions. To say that it's over-representative is absurd to me. Conqueror only makes up 3 out of the 10 of the top tiers of top laners, which is to say that even in top lane, Conqueror is not being over-representative. For a rune that was literally given to bruisers, for a rune that Riot said, this is your rune, bruisers, use this rune because we forgot to give you another rune, it still isn't over-representative. I want to talk about this. Tanks are not weak. Some tank champions are weak. The class is not weak. This argument is completely absurd to me. It's like saying, let's go down the list here. This argument is like saying, Jesus, I don't know, since Renekton is very down the tier list, that all bruisers are bad. That Trundle is bad top lane, so all bruisers are bad. That, Jesus, I don't even know. It's just a stupid argument. That because Hecarim isn't even pickable. I mean, Hecarim's not even on this list anymore. That bruisers are bad. It's stupid. I don't even feel like a tank anymore is the stupidest circle jerkiest argument I've ever heard. It's from a bunch of tank players who are so used to being able to straight ignore bruisers after 20 minutes that they now have to actually acknowledge that bruisers are a real champion with presence. It's from people that don't know that Grassband dying still beats Conqueror in lane, who are bad, and I'm gonna say that outright. They are bad players who try to play their champions improperly, get beaten, and then complain about it. That's what it is. Simply put, that's what it is. You don't see Singed players with Summonary losing to Conqueror. That's something down here I was going to talk about. You don't, I mean, even now, even after the nerf, Maokai still bullies most Conqueror players out of lane. Gangplank, grass spam. Fiora, grass spam. Aatrox, comet spam. Olaf, comet spam. These bully Conqueror players out of the lane. That's not an argument, that's just a fact. Multiple tanks are still top tier in this meta. Sejuani is top tier. Multiple support tanks are still top tier. And don't give me that, but the support, so they're not real tanks. Ornn, still top tier. Mundo, the probably overall strongest top laner in the game right now. Doesn't use Conqueror. Poppy, still top tier. And yes, I will say that outright. A lot of people don't believe me. Poppy isn't popular, but she's top tier. Singed has a massive win rate despite the circle jerk. I mean, that's just true. If you look at Singed, he has a very high play rate. Well, high-ish play rate. Still a good win rate. I mean, and look at the counter picks. Look at the counter picks here. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how the top 3 counter picks aren't bruisers? The 4th is Yorick. The 5th isn't a bruiser. And then you got, what, Wukong? I mean, how many of these are actually bruisers? How many of these are conquerors? You have not Conqueror, not Conqueror, not Conqueror, not Conqueror, not Conqueror, not... Literally, Trin. He's the only one with a Conqueror, and he goes 50-50. It's absurd to me. I mean, how... All classes have weak champions. Here's another point I wanted to make, and this one's really important. I actually read this off Reddit, so if you're the guy who made this, I stole this from you. Okay? If bruisers are strong, tanks are still played. If tanks are strong, bruisers aren't played. If tanks are strong, Khan is playing a bruiser or he's playing Jace. And don't fucking start saying, oh, well, Jace is a bruiser. I fucking hate that argument. No, Mundo is not a bruiser. No, Yasuo is not a bruiser. No, Swain and Vlad are not bruisers. You can't just start classifying everything as a bruiser to try to counter the bruiser argument. But yeah, no, we saw this. When there was no Conqueror, Khan was forced to play a tank. There's an argument over here. Nobody gives a shit if bruiser players are forced to play tanks. Look at all the bullshit that has been spawned because AD carries had to play mages. The front page of Reddit has been a non-stop waterfall from AD carry tiers. Bruisers were forced to play tanks for years. What was the front page? You have to adapt to the meta. Hashinshin just doesn't want to play the new meta. But no, Tyler One complaining about this, just saying bring back AD carries. That makes the front page. That makes number 1. Other bruiser players just either straight quitting the game or having to play tanks. No, that's just like a good job, bruisers. Thank you for adapting to tanks. Darius is a top tier pick and tanks are still played. How can that be if they're smashed so hard? Seriously, riddle me that one. How can tanks still be picked commonly if Darius smashes them in lane? Because they're just so much better outside of the lane. The fact that they used to be absolutely smashing you in lane, then outscaling you and being too tanky to kill, then also outperforming you in team fights, that's why tanks were replacing bruisers. Going back to saying, oh, we need to swing the pendulum back. At this point, the pendulum is pretty much just flat in the middle. And you're like, well, the pendulum used to be here, but now it's here. We would prefer if it was here. We want a little bit of bias to tanks, but not full bias. How about no bias? How about you just don't do any bias? Here's a point that I really want to bring up that people just are completely dismissive of, and as a streamer, I see in real time. Tanks aren't fun. They do not get one-tricked. This means all the one-tricks that champions like Jax enjoy, that Cinch enjoy, these one-tricks who drag up their win rates, who, by the way, Jax without the one-tricks would be shit. Those don't exist. I mean, seriously, look at the play rate of any tank. 3.2%. Top tier. 3.5%. Playable. Very, very playable. We see Shen, not frequently, but infrequently. 1.3%. This is a playable champion. 1.3%. Now he's a little under-nerfed, I'll admit. 2.3%. Top tier pick. This is absurd to me. Like, how can you say that? You know, 3.4%. Here's a champion who can bully any Conqueror player out of lane. No, but Hashinshin, you need health stacking to beat Conqueror. How about a 20% stackable, spammable shield? How about that? How's that for health stacking? But 3.4%. Even Mundo, seriously, look at Mundo. Here's a champion, top tier, best overall top laner in the game. 8.1%. They're not popular at all. They do not get one-tricked. Lower win rate. They do not get streamed. Seriously, they destroy view rate. Streamers avoid them like the plague. To put this into perspective with you guys, Ornn and Aatrox both have similar things. Ornn was released very weak. Aatrox was reworked. Arguably weak. Aatrox got buffed, Ornn got buffed. I started to play Ornn when people thought he was still a bad champion. I was doing the wacky fucking shit with him, stun-locking a Darius from full HP and killing him. You know, doing those wacky fucking Ornn plays. I was doing that. What was my play rate? Or sorry, what was my view rate? How many viewers was I getting? I was getting less than 2,000 viewers. Anytime the videos made, you know, synapse or something, people would go, well, I don't like watching that. All he did was press W. What did Aatrox get? 5,000 to 6,000 viewers. Almost 3 times as many people came out to watch Aatrox than watch Ornn. Pretty much played the same way, bullying the shit out of lane, being weaker late game. Ornn's stronger late game than Aatrox, but, you know, being weaker late game. But 3 times the viewers. Now, here's something I really want to say. Tanks have the lowest skill cap and become incredibly brutal to any minute they exist in. When Cho'Gath and Ornn were the best tanks and Grasp and Dying didn't exist, there was literally no reason to ever play a bruiser. They were lower skill cap, more powerful, unbeatable if you didn't kill them 5 times in the laning phase, and even if you did, they would outscale you. They crushed the spirits of top laners. They reduce the skill cap of top lane. They make top lane a lane where you can't really carry anymore. It's just, they're very overbearing on any meta where they are the top tier picks. Look at Mundo. Seriously, look at Mundo. We got a champion who wins lanes by spamming Q from far away and then scaling up. A lot of people aren't even picking bruisers anymore to try to kill Mundo. What do we see? We see a lot of counter tanks against Mundo. Bruiser items suck. Conqueror was supposed to band-aid that. For all the complaints that people have over the current AD carry itemization being too expensive, bruiser itemization is more expensive than that. Now you'll say, oh, but bruisers have Trinity, so they have one item that makes them strong. Sure, but bruiser items are still understat for how much they cost. Still, Conqueror was supposed to band-aid that. Look at Styria's Gauge, 3,200 gold. Look at Titanic Hydra, 3,500 gold. Conqueror is a band-aid to bruiser items overall sucking. Look at a champion like Aatrox. And in fact, look at any bruiser except Fiora and Camille. Unless you can convert your stats into true damage, you're gonna get outscaled. Even 30% armor pen Darius wasn't doing anything until people figured out the Conqueror lane bullying build. Okay? They literally canceled the bruiser item update. If they had gone through with the bruiser item update, maybe I would say, okay, fine, you can nerf Conqueror. But they didn't. So there's basically a band-aid on a gushing wound, and you guys are like, well, it's been a few months, let's rip that band-aid off. Great, it's just gonna start bleeding everywhere again. Finally, what the fuck is going on with mages? Mages are played and destroying AD carries, yet AD carries are still pretending that bruisers are killing them. AD carries are basically getting fucked from behind in the ass by mages, and then they point to bruisers and they go, "You did this!" And bruiser players are just sitting there like, what do we do? They're played sometimes top lane, sometimes in the jungle, and every so often Aurelia gets picked for another lane. And supposedly we're Satan that need our Keystone Band-Aid nerfed? It makes no sense. Actually, I'm already gone over this. Nobody gives a shit if bruiser players are forced to play tanks. I want to reiterate that because nobody gives a shit. If I didn't start spamming the front page with videos, we would never have gotten Conqueror. And we would still be seeing tank v tank in competitive, which we see even now with Conqueror. But that's all you would see. But here, I want to make this a final point. Everyone calls everything a bruiser to fuck with the numbers. I've seen this time and time again. When AD carry players started to notice, now they haven't fully gotten it, but when they started to notice that bruisers weren't being played top lane competitive or at high or low, they started to call champions bruisers to make themselves feel as if they were right and feel as if, you know, they were vindicated the whole time. Swain being called a bruiser, Vlad being called a bruiser, Yasuo being called a bruiser, Dr. Mundo being called a bruiser. You can't just call everything a bruiser. And even look right here. One of the top 10 champions using Conqueror, and here's the thing. If you went to top 20, it would only be 5. Just so we're clear. So don't say I'm cherry picking the numbers. 3 of the top 10, 5 of the top 20, okay? One of them is Yasuo. And let's be honest, the only reason the system, and I don't want to argue with it, I'm not going to argue with it, but let's just be clear, the only reason the system puts him at S+ is because his ban rate is dragging his numbers up because people are so pissed off at him that they don't want to play against him. Let's just be clear on that, okay? So, there's my video. I got this in 17 minutes, yes, that's why I couldn't do anything else. I just want to say that overall, anyone who's made it this far in the video, the forums are very overrepresented. They've always been very overrepresented by AD carry players, but especially bruiser players have quit the game in numbers that are so big. I mean, seriously, at top ranks for NA, how many top like I don't think people understand how few top lanes are left to even complain about this issue. I truly think people can't conceptualize that. Almost all the big top lane streamers have quit. Almost all the big top lane players have quit. Now, most league players, I mean, ranked player base in NA is down to like half, but seriously.
Later, mate.
Oh, sorry, I pulled up Twitch. If you pull up Twitch, seriously look at it. Seriously look at it. I'm looking at it right now. The top streams for, I'm looking at English, are Gosu, I Will Dominate, Tyler, Froggen, Poor Dark, Midbeast, Cowsep, Bizzleberry, then finally comes in at Fog at 500 viewers. I'm not trying to disparage Fog, but I'm trying to prove a point. There's no one left. Like, you guys might not like that I'm the one making these videos, but if I didn't make it, no one else would. And the thing is, a longer top lane exists in a fucky state. Like, anytime top lane goes back to a fucky state, more people are gonna quit, and it's gonna be harder to drag it out of it. You know, it's like quicksand. Once it's in quicksand, it's just gonna keep sinking until someone pulls it out. But Riot's just trying to push us back into the quicksand, and then it's gonna be harder to pull us out again. It really is. When you already have, like, I don't play Jax anymore. Just to be clear, I don't really play Jax anymore. Look at the counters and shit to Jax. There's a pretty high counter rate to Jax. This champion is very easy to destroy. Yeah. So that's all. Why are tanks dumb? Why are tanks bad? Why is Riot dumb? Why is Riot bad? Let's go through these point by point. Tanks play to support, generally performing solidly. Jungle and top tanks, side contrast, more likely to struggle. Blah 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 blah. Tanks have very many things that will give them lower win rates despite being perfectly balanced. Number one, a tank can't carry a game. A tank can do very equally in a normal game, but in a game that's a complete shutout, like let's say their bot lane goes 5-0. Who can stop an opposing bot lane from going 5-0? A fed top laner, a fed mid laner, a fed support, no, what's the word about? Fed jungle, not a tank. If you play tank in the jungle, you're not going to suddenly stop the uber fed AD carry. I'm sorry, but if I'm playing Sejuani jungle, who's very viable, very top tier, I'm not going to be able to stop the opposing AD carry from killing everyone. Sorry, like, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to lose 1v1. It's just going to suck. So nobody really... First off, their win rates are just going to be lower by default. And second off, they're just not popular. Ugh. And then we see here, many tank patterns front load a lot of their contribution, which tends to be consistent in power. This also has a side effect of meaning tanks have low risk, high reward whenever they're top tier. Low risk, high reward. In other words, tanks can be played by a lesser skilled player to equalize the difference between them and a more skilled player. Many players are drawn to more damage-focused classes than non-damage ones. Play rates for many tanks tend to be low relative to the other options when they're equally balanced. So here's two statements that are totally unrelated and not correlated in any regards. Let's look at this for a second and understand that maybe you can say, okay, people tend to be drawn towards high damage champions. Okay, you know, I think I could agree with that. But then to make a... but because of that, tanks are less popular. So I actually have a few problems here. In fact, let me actually go through here. Top lane and jungle and support and mid is not 50% tank, 50% not tank. This is something I really want to get across. There should... Like, tank people that prefer tanks, prefer playing tanks, I'd wager, and this is me being generous, maybe make up 10% of top laners. And that's being generous. Very generous. I'd actually wager, if you looked at it, tank players make up maybe 5% of top laners. So when you're trying to get people to play a class they don't want to play, you're gonna have to make them overpowered to get them to be played. That's just a blunt fact. Okay? I don't know why Riot thinks that this is like there's 50% tank players out there who are being like overburdened and overworked, and oh those bruisers are shit. No, they are the bruisers. The tank players are just bruiser players who are frustrated with tanks being overpowered and forced to being played them. That's a blunt fact. So I don't know. I don't know. This whole thing is just frustrating to me. That combination of some tanks and lower general appeal means metas occur, such as the present one, where there are few tanks being played. There's few tanks being played because they're just not fun. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's such a simple answer here that they're not looking at, and they're basically trying to change with numbers a gameplay problem that exists for gameplay reasons. Now, look, if there was a game you didn't like, I don't like Stardew Valley, right? They're not going to suddenly convince me to play Stardew Valley by making carrots sell for more. They're not going to be like, Hashinshin doesn't like Stardew Valley. Maybe he'll play it if we make carrots better. He didn't? Let's make carrots better. He didn't? Let's make carrots better. He didn't? Let's make carrots better. That's basically what they're doing. I don't like tanks. You're not going to make me play a tank by just making them so broken. Eventually, you're just going to drive more people out of the game who don't want to deal with the bullshit of having to fight tanks every game. Tanks are already top tier. You look at the LCK, and basically you're left with one of two options. You play a ranged abuser, or you play a tank. Even Darius lately, after the Conqueror and Sterix nerf, is looking at it, and a lot of people aren't playing him anymore. It's just a blunt fact. Tanks beat bruisers in lane, then outscale them in team fights. Ranged abusers can beat tanks in lane and try to split push. We see this all the time. Jace beat tank in lane, split push. Gnar beat tank in lane, split push. And then, here's a really funny thing, Kennen beat tanks in lane and then also be an amazing team fighter. Gnar can also semi-team fight, and that's kind of why Gnar has always been broken. He's a split push, lane bully, tank, team fighter, 1v1 or assassin mage carry. Teams without tanks like a front line, so tend to get burst more. Basically, he's saying we need tanks to reduce the damage in the game. First off, that's bullshit. Tanks didn't... Like, the lack of tanks didn't suddenly make Electrocute more powerful. Thunderlord's Call had lower AD ratios. It was, what, like 0.15 AD? And it had 40 less base damage. Electrocute is 40 more base damage, and its AD ratio isn't 0.15, it's 0.5. That's over 3 times higher of an AD ratio. So you're gonna blame Electrocute? Or sorry, you're gonna blame tanks for Electrocute? Oh, a tank isn't being played top lane. That's why Zed killed you at level 2 mid lane. Wait, what? And second off, who plays it? You know, let me put this here. Who plays the tank? Does the jungle play the tank? Does the support play the tank? Does the mid play the tank? Does the bot lane carry play the tank? Oh, we're just gonna force it back on top lane again. So we're gonna take people who don't want to play tanks and force them to play tanks so that we can have a more fun LCK meta. I've heard this before. They've been doing it for the last 4 years. It's not fun. It causes people to quit the game. I mean, look, if Ride comes out and they're like, we're gonna push tanks into the bot lane, we're gonna force AD carry players to play tanks. Great, I'll be behind that, because then they can get fucked over the same way we've been fucked over. No, but it's not gonna be them. Oh, it's not gonna be mid laners either. It's gonna be support and it's gonna be top lane who get fucked over, just like every other time. Given the above impact on how high damage a game feels, plus other benefits tanks bring, blah, 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 blah. We think it's generally a good thing to have around 1 tank on average. We're not going to make them fun. We're just going to say that for the LCS, it's more fun to watch a team that has a tank. So it's not going to be fun to play, but we'll make you play them. Some tanks are proven to have some of the difficulties being balanced between pro play and regular play that other champions have. All tanks, actually. In fact, here, let me pull this up. If you look at the win rates, you have to be absurdly, freakishly, ridiculously overpowered. I mean, here, let's look at pick rate. The highest pick rate tank is Mundo at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's a champion who's freakishly broken. Has a low win rate, has a low pick rate, barely even gets banned because no one gives a shit about him. Like, nobody wants to play tanks. More so, it's proven time and time again. Tanks do not get one-tricked. One-tricks raise the win rate of a tank. Tanks do not get streamed. Streams make them popular, leads to more one-tricks, leads to more people actually learning the champion. It's been proven time and time again that people only play tanks when they get autofilled. Tanks are disproportionately played by autofilled players. There's every reason in the world, every reason, for tanks to have low win rates. But no, we're just gonna buff them until we artificially force it through. Looking at damage sources that are anti-tank, particularly those that counter armor MR. Feeling as if we pushed too far out the amount of pen true damage offered. So basically what they're saying here is they're doing that thing they do where they lie, and they're saying, oh, we're gonna look at Infinity Edge first, then other sources. Bam, they're gonna nerf Conqueror. We all know it. We all know it. Like, it's not subtle. It's not hidden. That's what they're gonna do. They're just gonna nerf bruisers again to make tanks feel better. Are they gonna nerf Jace with his 25% armor and MR shred? No. Are they gonna nerf Gnar with his 14% magic damage, 14% health magic damage spam? No. Are they gonna nerf Kennen, who is 40% penetration with Void Staff? Oh no, they'll definitely not nerf Void Staff. 40% penetration on Void Staff, 40% ability power on Death Cap. Who else likes playing a tank and having a mage do like 3/4 your HP in a burst combo late game? But they won't nerf that. No. They're gonna nerf bruisers to make tanks feel better again. Not even because they're underpowered. No, because they want them to feel better again. We'll be buffing some individual tanks in 8.16, but not nerfing any of the ones who are overpowered, just to be clear. They'll just be bringing more tanks up. Do they ever look at bruisers? Do they ever go like, oh, there's only a few well-performing bruisers, let's buff them up? No, they don't give a shit about all these people down here. No, they only give a shit about the tanks. I mean, so let's say Cho'Gath, overpowered, very overpowered. But see, look at it again, overpowered. Below 50% win rate, no pick rate, no ban rate. Here's a champion who's very, very, very overpowered. And nobody plays him. How can that be true, Twitch chat, Reddit, everyone, Twitter? You know how it's true? Because nobody plays them. Nobody wants to. I don't want to play. Like, when I think of it like a carry, I think of like Jax. I think of like leap strike in, auto, reset W, ult proc, counter strike the right things, you know, flash in with your counter strike, stun the 80 carry, auto W, Titanic proc, you know, boom with Conqueror, kill him. Here's what I don't think of when I play a carry. The beast have 6,000 HP, run in, press E, auto. Wow, that did a lot of damage, and I didn't take much damage. Let's wait for my E cooldown. Auto. Auto feast. Wow, what a play. What a play. Wow, what a play. 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 I think Maokai. W in Q. Q. W in Q. Q. W in Q. Q. W in. Wow, that's compelling gameplay right there. And you can tell here. Let me actually show you here. You can tell which tanks are actually more exciting to play, simply put by the play rate. Singed. Singed is exciting to play. I mean, it might be low counterplay, but at least it's exciting to play. You know, look at Singed. Singed gets one tricked. He gets streamed. Not by like super big streamers anymore, but you know, the guy's at least, you know, entertaining to watch. Look at Poppy, you know, like charge him into a wall, hit him with a Q, knock him up, charge him into a wall again. Like that can be entertaining. I'm not saying Poppy's like super high skill cap, but I'm saying she's much more entertaining than Cho'Gath. Look at Mundo, you know, like you hit your cleavers, hit your E's, you W next to someone, you ult, you run away during your ult. Like, ooh, that's entertaining, that's exciting. Then look at like the lowest play rates. Look at like Maokai. Look at Gragas. Look at Ornn. Look at Cho'Gath. And for those of you not realizing, 2% is literally half of 4%. So while it doesn't seem that big in your mind, consider here for a second that 4% is literally double 2%. Even look at Malphite. Malphite is entertaining to play. He's boring as shit to play against, one of the worst champions in the game. But at least he's entertaining to play. You whack someone with your ultimate, you hit them with a Q and E, they can't auto you back, you got movement speed, they're slowed, you run up again, you hit them with your W, you're like bam, bam, hit them with your E again, like that's entertaining, right? Now I'm saying like they should make him more, you know, compelling to play against, but at least he's entertaining, right? So they're gonna buff Nautilus. Yeah, that's entertaining. Nautilus is so fun. E. Have I won lane yet? E. Oh wow, I accidentally won my lane with my giant AoE damage that slows, and I don't have to specify. Rammus. Oh, this is gonna be fun when they buff Rammus. Aren't you guys gonna like that one? Oh, Rammus is gonna be so fun to fight against, just like every other time he's been viable. Every other time he's been viable. Yep. So much fun. 8 years of Rammus, not enough. Let's get some more. We'll be looking to reduce the organized team versus random team difference in effectiveness some tanks show. So basically, how about you make tanks, you give them bigger, more defining items. Like, here's the thing, what's the big buy you get as a tank that makes you feel good? Is Jax? I think it's Trinity, Essence Reaver, Titanic, Sterix Gauge, wait, everything, actually. You know what the boring item is on Jax? The item that I build, and I'm like, oh, okay, when I get Omen. I'm like, yeah, okay, I mean, I got the AoE slow, it's kind of cool, I guess. You know when Omen used to be cool? When it was based on your armor, your MR, did a giant attack speed slow. Like, when I used to pop Omen on Jax or a tank, like, if I popped Omen on the 80 carry, I was like, oh, that guy's fucked. Oh, that guy is fucked. Nowadays, oh, it's a giant AoE slow that lasts forever, and also the slow is huge. But it doesn't slow attack speed, because that was frustrating for 80 carries. Can't have that. Can't have 80 carries feel bad. But seriously, what is a big buy on a tank that makes you feel good about yourself? You got like early game when you complete Sunfire, sure. On Mundo, it's Spirit Visage, sure. What other than that? Like Iceborne Gauntlet, but its damage has been neutered so much that it's kind of like, yeah, I guess my Sheen slows now. I guess. Cool. Okay. Not only that, look at how tanks are itemized. The only MR item that really does anything anymore is Adaptive Helm. So getting magic resist doesn't really feel good because they get Void Staff 40% pen. Oh, there goes 40% of all my MR items. Not only that, they've all been nerfed from 70% MR to 55. So it's not like they even have that much to begin with. Like when I'm on a mage, like big buys. Like, oh my god, when you get Lichbane, like bam. When you get Archangel Staff completed, you got this giant shield. When you get Hourglass, you know, Zanya's. What do you, like, tanks just aren't interesting. They're giant blobs of stats that run at people and beat them. And to think, the closest champion to a tank that isn't a tank is like maybe Darius, right? Most of Darius's stats are Your monster's playstyle is kind of, I'm not saying it's 100%, but a lot of it is, you know, like you E into the auto WQ combo, you try to kite with your Q, you know, then you go in for the ult. But the thing is, even on a champion like Darius, I still have Trinity. Oh my god, when you get Trinity on Darius, you know, Sturrid's Gauge, you have to get the big shield going. Then you go into the tank items and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I tank up now. Doesn't change me. Like, how does Adaptive Helm change how I play the game? Oh, I'm tankier, like a lot tankier. How does Omen change how I play the game? Oh, I guess I have a slow, and now I'm tankier, like a lot tankier. You know, I guess Gargoyle's Stoneplate was supposed to be their big item, but then it got nerfed because it was actually so stupidly overpowered. You know, watching like 2 or 3 tanks with Gargoyle's Stoneplate run into the opposing team and pop block it, sure, that felt really impactful, but it also felt like, oh, great, so there's a giant death wall in front of me with like 15,000 HP of stats. Guess I won't even try to play the game. So, yeah, I mean, tanks just aren't Jeremy, why? We also want to work at kit satisfaction, feel rather than power for some tanks. Not sure when that will happen yet. Could be a while off. Oh, okay, so the thing that could actually make tanks better, instead of being who plays the tank, instead of being like a fucking college hazing, like, haha, newbie lane gets to play the tank. Instead of that, they're like, let's make them forced first. Let's punish. Let's punish the players forced to play the tank first, and then let's make them fun to play. Because that's how you want to do it. Screw with your player base, make them not have fun, and then make them fun to play. Because all those people who quit are going to come back when they realize, oh, I could be having fun? No, I already quit for Fortnite. You're not getting them back. Don't lie. Drive off your player base, see what happens. Anyway, that's my video. Yeah, the end. Someone's gonna take like one thing I said, because I'm like making this up as I go along, right? Someone's gonna take like one thing I said in the video, and it's gonna be like the top 3 points. Hashinshin, I can't trust that guy, because like he says Riven has low counterplay, but I think Riven is the best champion ever, and I have 2 gigs of Riven porn on my computer. And then it's like, instead of discussing the fact that who's forced to play the tank is a hazing process, instead of being talked about like the fact that tanks aren't fun to play, instead of the fact that tanks are very low skill cap and are basically used to bridge the skill gap between a low skill top laner and a high skill top laner, instead of talking about any of that, we're gonna be talking about, like, what did I say in this video? That probably something here. It'll probably be like, Shinshin says Jax is not overpowered, but he is overpowered. Shinshin just wants Jax to be broken tier. That dick. Or something like, oh, but why aren't you talking about Garen? Are bruisers fine? Hello, League of Legends community. I was gonna do a video, an impromptu little video. That whole thing like typed up like, hey, here's everything that we could do in the game, you know, with like expected outcomes and blah, 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 blah. I was gonna do that, but then I thought to myself, you know what, what's the point? Because I feel some deeper problems with the game, problems that I think nobody really talks about, but really should be talked about more. Number one, why is the competitive scene so overbearing on the League of Legends balance and community? I mean, when I hear people like Scar say, oh, well, this season sucks, but we can't fix it because we need to wait till Worlds. We wouldn't want to change the meta on them. You know, okay, I guess the game's just gonna suck till next season. I mean, is this literally, like, is this us failing the FF15 vote and waiting for 20? Or just like, well, this game sucks. Oh, shit. We're not at 20 minutes yet, not at next season yet, so we can't surrender. It's kind of annoyed me. I mean, seriously, like here. Actually, I'm gonna bring this up here. Like, there are so many things that, like, look at this. Like, look at my changes. Like, look at the things I'm suggesting they could do to maybe balance some damage creep. You know, not like huge shifts here. You know, how about like make Maw more MR intensive, reduce its damage. How about things like adaptive helm? You know, reduce the damage reduction on adaptive helm, but increase the magic resist, right? Then go to ability power items. The starter ability power items have been power creep to fuck. They're ridiculous. Infinity Edge. I drew this up a few days ago. I never went anywhere with it. Storm Razor. Storm Razor is actually just absurd right now. I mean, you look at a champion like Quinn. You look at a champion like Jin. I mean, here, let me pop this up here real quick. Hold up. You look at a champion like Jin, and look at this fucker. He's literally the most played champion here. Is he the most played champion in the game? Yes, he's the most played champion in League of Legends. 1 out of every 3 teams will have a Jin on it. Like 3 games. 1 out of every 3 games will have a Jin on it, right? Win rate 51%. That's absurd, right? I don't think that'd be crazy to say that Storm Razor is a cause of that. Right? Look at Deathcap and Void Staff. Look at the damage that these items give you late game. Look at Arcane Comet. Look at Summon Airy. Look at Grasp the Undying. Look at Electrocute. You know, look at this shit. Look at, and then you say, oh, but it shouldn't damage. How do you make Aftershock instead of this giant resistance chain? Especially because, let's be honest, Aftershock was making Fids overpowered. So why not make Aftershock a little bit different to be better for the champions it's actually designed for? But okay, you know what? Whatever. You know, we can't do any changes for another 4 months. I mean, the bruiser itemization update can't happen until the preseason. Can't have anything happen until the preseason. Oh, okay. I'm not even sure, like, how you're supposed to respond to that, you know? Like we as a community have basically come together and said, this game is not exactly what we want it to be. We don't like it how it is right now, but I guess we can't change it because of the competitive scene. You know what? You know what League needs as a whole? You know what League needs? Is they need a dude, I know I've said this before, they need a Morello. They need a dude who sits at the top with a Nerf hammer and is like, that's not fun, you can't do that. I don't care how interesting that is, I don't care how new that is, you can't do that. No, you can't make Soraka a heal bot, that would not be fun. No. Give her more utility, nerf the healings, put some cooldown shit. No. You can't give a Kali true stealth, that won't be fun for people. It won't be fun to be turret dive by a champion that you can't see. You know what I mean? Like, there needs to be a dude there. Because so much of this shit I feel like is basically, like there should have been somebody up there saying, no, that's dumb, you can't do that. And so much of this shit I feel is getting into the game because the developers are trying to one-up themselves all the time on how creative and interesting they can make their ideas, and there's no funnel. I should do it down. There's no funnel that's taking, you know, you get all these ideas, they're like, you know, they're dripping all down. There should be a funnel. There should be a guy acting as a funnel being like, okay, no. 99% of the ideas, sure, they're creative, sure, they're unique, but maybe that shouldn't be in the game. You know, the most interesting champions to me, to fight, to play, are champions like Sion. Oh, I'll fight Sion any day of the week. If he's overpowered, what does he do? He E-spams you? Oh, big fucking whoop. What, he pokes you down from range? And that's if his E is overpowered. Other than that, it's charging up his Q, trying to hit you from brush, ulting you, trying to keep his shield up, you know. Maybe without Conqueror, he was a little bit, you know, frustrating, but that was, what, a 6-month period, or 4 months? Something like that period of time between the removal of Fervor Battle and the addition of Conqueror, right? You know who the champions are that I just find absolutely appalling, who probably should just be nerfed into oblivion pending a rework? Honestly, let's look at Zoe. Let's look at the new Akali rework already. I mean, even a champion like Aatrox. I mean, let's be honest with a champion like Aatrox, okay? Like, let's be honest. I've said this before, but he feels unsatisfying to play because your Q is a shitty ability, right? But your E fixes your Q. So anytime you use your E on your Q, you basically shouldn't be missing it. Which means that if you're fighting champions without very low cooldown mobility in lane, like let's say I'm playing a tank, right? I don't know, maybe a tank's a bad example because they have heals and shields, but let's use a tank anyway. Let's say I'm playing Sion, right? How do I outplay Aatrox? Don't stand in his Q. What if he E's into his Q? And because his Q knocks up, I can't charge my Q. So what do? Do I walk into melee range of him? Okay, so I dodge his second Q, but then his third Q knocks me up, so I can't Q again. Oh, and then he's got this E-bang. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not very fun to play because you feel like you're constantly having to fix your own ability with your E. Like, I liked Aatrox at first, but the more I played him and the more I played against him, the more, like, every time he was up and unbanned, I was like, you know, maybe not. And, I mean, look at things like Arcane Comet. Look at Arcane Comet on a mage. On a mage, you use your main abilities, right? And listen to me on this one. On a mage, use your main abilities. You try to, you know, charm, or if you're Xerath, you try to hit him with your W and proc the Arcane Comet. If you're Brand, you're trying to, like, combo the Arcane Comet into your ability. Now, if you're a tank, or if you're an AD caster, or in bruiser or something like that, Arcane Comet basically doesn't scale. You know, the AD ratio is not high enough. Armor gets way too high. Like, late game Arcane Comet starts bopping people. You know, you'll see like a mage Arcane Comet hit someone and it's like, you know, their health bar gets chunked. Aatrox's Arcane Comet hits you late game, it's like, dink. But tanks and bruisers typically have easier ways to ensure an Arcane Comet hit in the laning phase, right? We can agree with that. Like, Aatrox has his Q, Sign has his E, you know, stuff like that. And that means that Arcane Comet, for most champions, just feels like this dinky little ability, this like dinky little comet that stands on your shoulder. And I know I've talked about this on Rift Rivals. This dinky little thing that stands on you, and basically, you just do more damage because you do more damage. Look at Summonary, you do more damage because you do more damage, right? I feel the rune rework was just not. They didn't give it enough time in the oven. I mean, there's so many things that came out of the rune rework that are the laziest things that were basically put in there, you know, to try to get something through, I guess. You know, oh, we need X many runes, X many keystones, just come up with some shit. You know, like, look at Scorch. When you do damage, but it waits 1 second. Now, what is the purpose behind that waiting 1 second? To make it feel impactful, to make you notice it because it does such little damage? But it does enough damage that it can often, I mean, let's say I get hit by Scorch a few times in the laning phase, right? Like, that's the difference between 100 HP at the end of, you know, before I back, and having that 100 HP. You know, not having it and having that 100 HP. Look at something like Summonary. Look at how many champions use Summonary. You know, the example someone gave the other day was Victor, right? Used to be you didn't get hit by Victor's auto attack, so if you got hit by his Q, you'd be like, dink, you know, you'd be hit by like the 30 damage, and that was it. Now you get, you know, dink by the 30 damage, and dink by the Summonary, then dink by the Scorch, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, hold on. Why am I down, you know, 90 HP because Victor hit me with a Q? And everyone's gonna yell at me, oh, Victor's underpowered. Yeah, but that's not the point, Twitch chat, Reddit, everyone. That's not the point. The point isn't who's powerful and underpowered. The point is this fun to play against? Is it fun to fight a champion who formerly, like, okay, just don't get hit by their auto attack. Now you get hit. You get hit by their Q, and ding, 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 and all of a sudden your health bar is down. I mean, look at a champion like Zed. How do you? People say, oh, electrocute. It's harder to hit than Thunderlords, but the reality is, Thunderlords was basically Scorch. You know, you got hit by it every so often whenever it was off cooldown, but it didn't hurt that badly. Now Electrocute, you get hit by Electrocute, and it's like ka-chunk. You know, Wukong goes up to combo you, E auto attack Q, and it's like ka-chunk. You're like, what the fuck just happened to my health bar? Yeah, you've got Domination and the Sorcery. So it goes Domination, Sorcery. They have shit like Sudden Impact, Ghost, Poros, Scorch, Electrocute, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, so he's got 4 damage from Ghost Poro, and he's got, what is it? It's like 12 damage from runes, and okay, that's not so bad. And also he does like 25 damage from his Scorch, and also his Electrocute's hitting for 80, and all of a sudden you're like, okay. Wukong previously, like, I'm not saying he wouldn't do damage, like, Wukong would always do damage, for sure. He's always a high early game champion, but, like, Wukong would do, like, the E-auto W, or sorry, the E-auto Q, and it'd be like, you know, he'd be like, you know, got, like, a good third of my health bar. Good job, Wukong. Now he does it, and you're down to like 1/3 health, and you're like, wait, what? He just did 2/3 my health? Wait, what? You know, Talon, they buffed Ignite for God's sake, so Talon comes at you, level 2, you know, let's say you actually get hit by his W. Oh, don't get hit by his W, but let's say you do. You know, let's say Talon does do something smart for once, you know? Let's say you do get hit by his W. Should you be dead? Should that kill you? I don't think so. I don't feel like you should be dead because he hit you with his kit. You know, a lot of people said the same thing about Aurelia. You know, should Aurelia be killing you because she hit her E if you aren't a tank? And people say, aha, Hashinshin, aha, but the resolve stuff, but the resolve stuff doesn't scale either. That's the other problem. Bone plating scales doesn't scale. Chrysalis turns into damage. So even the defensive runes eventually stop functioning, right? Like, okay, so 45 damage for bone plating early game, that's a pretty good deal. But it's what? It's like 120 late game? 120 late game? That's it? Doesn't scale with anything because it's not health? You know, okay. So you just die, right? You just die after the early game. I was actually watching Tyler's stream, and I mean, he says a lot of these things. It's basically right. You know, Tyler's basically right in that should you be taking so much damage because a mage kind of grazed you? Like you dodge Zyra's root, her plant comes out, bobs you, you get arcane commented, you get scorched. Then the Landry's torment is up, so now you're down, you know, blah, 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 amount of your health bar, and all of a sudden you've lost 1/4 of your health, but you dodged the skill shot. You know, it doesn't make any sense. If I'm fighting Zed, and let's say I'm fighting Zed, right? So he hits me with his E. I dodge a shuriken. Let's say I don't dodge every shuriken, but let's say I dodge 1 out of 3 shurikens, right? No, let's say I dodge 2 out of 3. So he only hits me with the 1 shuriken. Doesn't hit me with the second and the third, right? So he autos me, E's me, hits me with 1 Q, and pff, I'm dead. Electrocute pops off, his passive pops off, Scorch pops off, and all of a sudden his ult hits me like for like 1500 HP, and I'm like, what? And that's how I feel the current game is right now. Like, it used to be if you hit everything well, if Zed hit everything well, he could pop you through a Janna shield, right? Now Zed, like, misses half his abilities, still pops you. But he has to do that because an AD carry has Stormblade Razor thingy, and they crit their first attack, and they crit their second, and you're just like, wait, what? You know, when I'm fighting Quinn, she runs at me, gets out of her ult, autos me on the Harrier, E's me, autos me on the Harrier, and I'm dead. You know, and that's not, don't tell me that's like a very rare occurrence to have, because that happens all the time. So, because Quinn is doing that, Zed needs to kill you in 1 second. Well, because Zed is killing you in 1 second, Kaw needs to kill you in 1 second. So, Ahri needs, you know, and the worst thing is with all the cooldown reduction and ride buffing, I mean, here. I can actually show you 2 occurrences of this, you know, don't think I'm crazy here. I mean, here, let me look at this real quick. Yeah, back in season 6, they buffed the duration of Nocturne's Fear. And why would they do that? Did an assassin need a 2.25 second effective stun? Did they really? I mean, look at Ahri. Look at Ahri, look at her latest buff. Oh, let's make rank 1 charm last longer. So, as you're adding more damage, and you're adding more cooldown reduction into the game, and you're nerfing tenacity, you're buffing crowd control duration? Crowd control duration should have been coming down. I think Aatrox is at least a decent example of, okay, he only, you know, in total he can knock you up for 0.75 seconds. You know, let's say because of how knockups and stunts work, it's like a 1.0, right? Because he's gonna cancel auto attacks, waste your time, etc. So let's say being beneficial to him, it's a 1.0 effective knockup. But still, it's a 1.0 for hitting all 3. I mean, compare that to Nocturne. He stands next to you for 1 second, 2.25 second fear. But because Quinn can kill him in 1 second, he needs to do that. And just the whole thing is 2 people constantly getting stronger, beating the shit out of each other, and the game is suffering for it. This is a much longer video than I wanted it to be, but I felt like just, putting my frustrations here. Let's go back to the beginning. There needs to be a dude at the top, the great funnel. The funnel guy needs to say, when they come up with the Nocturne buff, and they're like, let's buff Nocturne's fear length. He has to be like, no, why? What would be the end result of that? 2.25 second fear? That means anyone he actually fears is dead. That means everyone will need to kill Nocturne in 1 second or else they die. That means Nocturne needs to be squishy. And why does Nocturne need to be squishy? Because he has a fear, and he has a fear because he's squishy. So why don't you, hear me out on this one, why don't you make Nocturne's fear up to 1.8 seconds, reduce its duration, give him more base armor, give him more base health. Now, Nocturne, maybe he doesn't die in 1 second, but maybe not killing him in 1 second doesn't mean that you're dead, right? Let's look at Ahri. I mean, maybe you raise Ahri's base armor a little bit, right? I mean, if her problem really is these physical damage champions who's one-shotting her, maybe 20 base armor is a little bit too low. Am I wrong about that? I don't feel like I'm wrong about that. I mean, let's compare here. Zed comes out with 32 base armor. Ahri has 20. So maybe the problem with Ahri is that when she's getting one shot, she needs to one-shot other people. So then you just have 2 people one-shotting each other. But, and hear me out on this one, maybe that's entertaining for a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of entertainment you can get out of one-shotting each other, but let's take the example of Earth. Rai doesn't like Earth mode, right? Because it feels good at first, low cooldowns, you combo everything, but once you go back to the normal game, it doesn't feel so good anymore. And then you get bored of the game. And that's how I feel about the game right now. Is that everyone's killing each other, but it's not... it's not gonna last long enough. It gets boring eventually. Sure, in Earth, it's fun to use it on your opponents, but it's not too fun, when they fuck with you. And maybe we shouldn't be dying in one hit. I mean, let's just put it that way. Maybe there needs to be a grand rework. And it doesn't have to be, again, look, it doesn't have to be some major thing, right? Just start implementing some number nerfs for now. Reducing damage a little bit for now. Start reducing CC for now. Let's nerf Ahri's charm, buff her armor. Let's nerf Nocturne's fear duration, buff his health and armor. I mean, look at a champion like Lulu. I'm not crazy. I actually looked this shit up. Some of you guys actually never look things up and just feel like you're right. But look at a champion like Lulu. 1700 base HP? What, because she can chain polymorph you? Exactly. For those wondering, that's exactly why. She needs 1700 base HP because she can chain polymorph you. Is that good game design? You can say, oh, it's different, it's unique, it separates her from other people. No, it doesn't, because he started to do it to everyone. When they came out with Kai'Sa, and they were like, oh, Kai'Sa is a glass cannon AD carry. And I'm like, the glass cannon AD carry? I'm watching AD carries get half health by mages that miss half their abilities. Not even that, I'm watching AD carries get killed by a Zoe that misses every ability. She uses Ignite, R's forward, misses her Q, uses her passive auto, uses her W, then uses her movement speed boost, like E's, misses her E's, uses her passive auto again, uses another summoner, oh, her W goes off, oh, here's her passive auto, and all of a sudden your AD carry's dead. And you're like, wait, she missed everything, but my AD carry is dead. What happened? And now they're coming out with an AD carry and they're like, this is a glass cannon AD carry. Glass cannon? Everyone's a fucking glass cannon right now. I'm looking at Jax and I'm like, oh my god, I get 170 armor on my ultimate with my Essence Reaver Styx Gauge Titanic Trinity build. Oh, I have 3,500 HP and the Styx gives me 1,000 HP shield. maybe not that much, but you get the idea. And then you walk into a team fight, and it's like, oh, you got hit by Zyra's root and you're dead. You watch his Sturek shield pop, and it's like, boo! It's like 1/2 your fucking health bar, and it's just like 180 carry auto attack. Gone! Oh, but in return, let's say I flash, stun, and 80 carry, I kill them instantly. Is that fun? Like, I feel like that's not... It's like hazing. It's like we're hazing each other. Like we're taking turns shitting on each other for fun, right? Like, oh, we get to haze you now, but hey, in a minute you'll haze me. So I shit on you now, but then you'll shit on me. And it doesn't feel satisfying, does it? It doesn't feel satisfying. It feels more like you're getting back at that guy for being such a bitch. Is Jax, I'm getting back at you for being an 80 carry. When you kill me as an 80 carry under a Zyra root, you're getting back at me for playing Jax. It doesn't feel like either of us are having fun doing it. We're just fucking with each other because we're angry at each other. Anyway, that's the video. I hope everyone gets my point here. Bye-bye, everyone.